Alright everybody, we have our first new unit being added into Phantom Parade. He will be in a new Gacha banner. It is Junpei Yoshino. I had to redo this several times because I kept calling him Junpei Iori. It's not his name. That is a Persona character. This is Junpei Yoshino. He's going to be our first new character added into Phantom Parade. Gacha is going to start after maintenance on the 12th, which is shortly. Tomorrow is the 12th. I don't know the exact timer. I don't know what UTC plus 9 is. Sorry. But the actual banner will come out right after the maintenance ends. There's going to be a new character, which is Junpei Yoshino, and there's going to be a new Recollection bit, the Imaginary Youth, both available. And they will be featured. So they have a higher chance of being pulled than other SSR characters, items, all that good stuff. So this is the character, Young Fish and Reverse Punishment, Junpei Yoshino. And the Recollection bit is right here, Imaginary Youth. Newly introduced character and Recollection bit are only included in this gacha, so this does not mean that they are limited. It does not mean that he won't be in the other ones. It just means that the ones that are already out, he is not going to be added to. So he's not in the base banner right away. He's not in the UG banner. He's just in his own. It's not going to retroactively put him in the other ones. Each time a player draws, you get one gacha point. It's just the pity. You know exactly how the pity works already. We already talked about that. And then some notes that are probably worth taking notice of. Obtained characters can still be obtained from this. Just means you can pull dupes still. You can still get dupes. Obtained Recollection bits can still be obtained. You can still get dupes. Young Fish and Reverse Punishment, Junpei, and Imaginary Youth are scheduled to be added into the other gachas, such as the generic Phantom Parade gacha, but the specific probability and date have not yet been determined. I believe they are added in after their banner goes away. So when the Junpei banner is gone, that's when he will be available in the generic banner. In addition, he will be added to the Soul Shard exchange at the same time. So once he is in the general generic banner, he will also be available in the Soul Shard exchange to get dupes of him if you want to trade for dupes, just like you can with the launch characters right now. So should you pull for this guy? That is the question of the day. Now, they don't give you any information about him or his kit in this update. You just can kind of see when it's coming out. It doesn't actually tell you anything about him. So what I am going to do here is bring up his page. This is the banner page on the Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade wiki. Again, amazing website run by an awesome community. If you haven't checked it out, you really should go and support, use it for everything that you need. But here's your featured unit. And here is your featured memory. We're going to take a look at both, see if either one of them is actually worth getting. Small Fish and Reverse Retribution. He cannot Black Flash because Junpei cannot Black Flash, and he increases his own damage when he has additional Tokyo Jujutsu High students. So that's, I believe, just at this time, Maki, Panda, Inumaki, Yuji, Megami, Nobara for right now. His first skill is Tentacle Thrust. Does 110% to a selected enemy and decreases their outgoing Jujutsu damage by 20% for 3 turns. So kind of a little debuff that he can put on there. That bumps up to 31% at maximum. The actual damage is negligible, so the increase there doesn't really matter that much, but it is nice to see that little buff to the debuff on level 10. Skill number 2 is to summon Moon Dregs. Grants attack nullification to himself, so he'll block an attack. Attracts all enemies' attacks to him, so the enemies will then target him that turn, and decrease allies' damage received by 10%, excluding himself. So, decent, it's a little bit of tanky potential there. The buff can increase to 19% at level 10, so it gives a little bit of defensive potential, just kind of lets him eat up a hit for a turn. It's not super incredible, but it is an option. Skill 3 is Poison Stab. It does 85% Jujutsu to the selected enemy. It deals 30% continuous damage via poison to the selected enemy for 3 turns, so it gives them like a damage over time effect. And increases their damage received by 10%. At level 10, the damage goes up to 146, the poison becomes 48, and the debuff becomes 15% damage received. And then his ultimate deals 400% Jujutsu to the selected enemy, as well as a 120% continuous poison tick for 3 turns, and decreases their Jujutsu damage output by 30%. At level 10, those numbers go up to 800%, 193 for the poison tick, and 48% for the debuff. And then his auto skill here, he increases his own damage by a flat 7.5%, and then the more Tokyo High Jujutsu students are present on the field during the wave, then the greater the damage boost will be. So if he's got Yuji, Nobara, Megami all with him, he'll get a higher damage boost. Just going to be candid here, he's pretty bad. I don't think that he is really very good. He doesn't have a whole lot going for him. His damage output is pretty low. Poison is kind of meh. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, if you're fighting an enemy where you can't do a whole lot of damage to them, maybe poison is beneficial-ish, I guess. It's really not very exciting. Certainly not worth investing cubes into this character. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Recollect. Oh, it's going to make me go through all of these because I moved them all to level 10. There we go. Let's take a look at the Recollection bit here, Imaginary Youth. At its base state, it's got 4-turn cooldown. When a command or ultimate skill is activated, restore 15 cursed energy to yourself. At limit break 1, at the start of the 6th turn from the beginning of the battle, it increases all the damage that enemies receive from Jujutsu attacks by 10%. If the enemy is afflicted by poison, then it also increases their damage taken by an additional 20%. So it's a 30% damage taken debuff if the enemy is poisoned, starting from turn 6. And then at limit break 3, if you get that many copies, the cursed energy buff goes from 15 to 20. I also think this is pretty bad. Poison is not something that's very common, so it is strictly meant to be used with Junpei for a good while. Poison is not something that you will use or see very often. It's not something that's going to be like, oh, I can save this in the future and slap it on all these poison characters. It's really meant to just give Junpei some additional support. Just that way, after turn 6, he's adding an additional 30% damage taken to the enemy. It's not super compatible with Gojo either because Gojo leaves on turn 7. So this buff would only kick in starting at turn 6, and even then you have to pull it twice to even get that buff. Otherwise, all you're getting is a cursed energy recovery of 15 points of cursed energy. Not very exciting. So should you pull on this banner? I think that the answer is a pretty clear no. There's nothing in here that is super exciting. You can see that the launch characters are all in here as well as the Recollection bits. So, like, if you're really desperate for some of these, I guess you could. But I really can't think of any situation in which you would justify pulling on this banner. He's quite bad. The memory is quite bad and really only works with him. Leave Junpei wherever he ends up. Let him sit in the standard banner, and you can get him later. I also want to point out something about this character that you may have noticed if you're perceptive and you've been paying attention this whole time. You may have noticed something about this character that is extremely bad right off bat, right? That is this right here. You see his name is Junpei Yoshino. His name is not Yuta Okotsu. So if you're wondering, should I pull for Junpei Yoshino, check your notes app on your phone. Go ahead and get your notes app out on your phone and write down, is it Yuta Okotsu? No. The answer is probably no. Should you pull on Junpei Yoshino instead of Yuta Okotsu? Absolutely not. So really the biggest drawback to this character, despite his bad kit and bad Recollection bit and lack of general usefulness, the biggest problem with this character is that he could be Yuta and he's not. So because he's not Yuta, nope, you should not pull. Alright everybody, that's it. He's bad. Don't get him. He's not Yuta. Why would you pull for him? He's not Yuta. Have you seen Yuta? Have you seen Yuta's kit? You know what Yuta does? Yuta's crazy. This dude is wretched. He's awful. Don't get him. Bye.